People will connect with you if you are accessible. So I think the problem still lies more on the side of us politicians, where we are not accessible, where we tend to sort of, maybe take people for granted. So I was very staunchly opposed right from the beginning to Prime Minister Modi and the policies that the Bharatiya Janata Party was propagating under his leadership. I was very upset when Prime Minister Modi came to power in 2014. In police custody, they kept telling me, political hai, hum kya kar sakte hain, sir. I wasn't even questioned once in police custody. They said, ye kya hai, humko paperwork karna hai, hum karenge. For the first 1 month, people kept coming, saying, "आप settle कर लीजिए." I said, "Settle क्या होता है? मुझे बताइए. What exactly do you want me to settle?" You join the BJP, we'll give you an X amount of money. They promised a sum of some 18, 20 crores, whatever. Till date, the BJP hasn't released those funds to West Bengal. So we knew going into the elections that this party does not have anything to offer the people of Bengal. We do not have solo riders. We do not have silos. That is one reason why I joined the Trinamool Congress, is because today I've seen that among all the major parties in India, this is one party. The Prime Minister was a person who was used to coming into the house. Everybody on the treasury benches getting up as if God has suddenly appeared in front of them, clapping, going, Modi, Modi.
Hello and welcome to the Statesman Talk with me, Deepthi J. Verma. Today we are being joined by Saket Gokhale, who's been a war journalist and RTI activist and currently the second youngest MP in the Rajya Sabha from the Trinamool Congress. He's also the national spokesperson for the All India Trinamool Congress. Thank you for joining us, Saket.
Hi, thanks, Deepthi.
Yeah. As I just said, that you have been a war journalist, and I don't know much about the role of the activist role. How did you do it? And when did you decide to get into politics? How did it come about?
I'm going to truncate the story. It's a little bit of an interesting story. So I was working as a journalist. I was overseas and I was a foreign correspondent. And a bunch of publications, different, because I was for a while with a couple of European publications. Then I moved to Southeast Asia. So I had a chance meeting with then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. This was about 2012. Okay. And he was on a state visit to Kuala Lumpur. Okay. And we were given a 7-minute slot for interviewing him. And while the interview was happening, the 7 minutes turned into about 15, 18. And he put a little thought in my head. He said, young Indians like you, you're all living overseas, etc. But we need people like you. Why don't you ever think about coming back to the country, being a part of public service? So my first thought in my mind was, what exactly does public service mean? I don't want to join the civil services because in your mind, you're working as a foreign correspondent. And I was doing very well for myself. So the civil service is not something I ever envisaged. The second is politics. And I said, in 7 generations, nobody's even been a sarpanch in my family. So we have absolutely no political background, nothing. I come from a very middle class, possibly lower middle class family.
And professionals? Your parents are professionals or?
I don't know. I mean, politics, it has always, growing up, we had always grown up seeing it as
a lineage,
as a place where you cannot enter. The doors are, yes, it's a democracy and you can vote. And, if you can participate, if you're active enough. But being an active politics, it requires money, it requires family connections, it requires contacts, the right networks. People like us who are from the outside don't have any of that. And the political system, as we were also seeing it then, was heavily skewed towards, has been, regardless of which party is in power, but has been heavily skewed towards, people with networks and roots in an organization or in politics, which people like us don't have. I still came back to India about 2013, 14. And right after that, I felt, and my editor told me, he said, you're young. I was about 24. He said, go back. And if you want to ever come back, our doors are always open for you. So I came to India, and at that time, I was reading Mr. Ramchandra Guha's India After Gandhi. And it was the new big phenomenal book at that point. And there's a passage in it which says that when Mahatma Gandhi came from South Africa to India, his political mentor was Gopal Krishna Gokhale. No connection with me, but we share the same last name. And he asked Gokhale how he can contribute to the freedom struggle. And Gopal Krishna Gokhale told him that keep your mouth shut, your eyes and ears open, and travel around India for 2 years. So I spent not 2 years, but a year and a half just doing that. Second class, sleeper, general compartments, unreserved, sleeping under the seats, rickety buses. All over really. I mean, except for I didn't get a chance to go to the Northeast at that point. But I did go all the way up to Ladakh, to J&K. Spent a fair bit of time around UP.
Were you reporting, writing? What were you
No,
doing?
I was just observing. I
Just
went with a
observing.
journal and I was making notes, but for the first time in my life, I was making those for myself, not to be published anywhere.
Journalizing.
Just journalizing, just whatever I could understand, because I did not understand the country at all when I came in here. Sure, I'd grown up in a city like Bombay, and
Yeah, which is not really like.
which is not. I did not have any understanding
Of India.
of the India that lives in the villages.
And say India is not for beginners.
Yeah,
so it
barring
was-
few vacations we would take to visit our grandparents, but it also wasn't that they lived in a very rural setup. So in a sense, we were very isolated from and very shamefully, but isolated from how the rest of the country lives.
We live in a bubble in cities.
Very much so, very much so. And which is why also today, if you look in these recent elections, it has always bothered me that the voter turnout in cities like Bombay, for example, even Delhi for that matter, tends to be very low.
Yeah.
And the reason is people have said, multiple people ascribe reasons saying
political apathy,
apathy,
yeah.
bubble. But it's also the nature of how our cities are designed, where the concept of civic participation, the way it does in the US or in Europe, still doesn't exist here. Because people think, and it's a problem on both sides. It's not just that people are apathetic, but it's also because the politicians are not accessible.
Yeah.
Today, a lot of people don't know who their MLA or an MP in Bombay is, but because they've never seen the face of their individual other than elections. So people don't, today, if there is a waterlogging problem, people in a city like Bombay will not know whether I should write to the corporator, the MLA or the MP about it. So there is no interaction that happens between public representatives and the
There's
people
no dialogue at all.
in cities. And people will connect with you if you are accessible. So I think the problem still lies more on the side of us politicians, where we are not accessible, where we tend to sort of, maybe take people for granted. And I think the more accessible politicians become, people will engage with them. But until then, we can call it apathy, we can blame the people for it, but participation also requires both sides to be equally involved.
And then what happened after the journey?
After that journey, I worked in advertising briefly, but I was still more focused with the company that it was a startup, but we were more focused towards political campaigns. So I ran campaigns for a couple of candidates, advising them on communication, etc. Then somewhere around 2017, I felt that investigative journalism had taken a little bit of a setback after 2014. People were either afraid or there was absolutely no appreciation for investigative journalism. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to dig out whatever facts I can as far as the government goes. And I will use the medium that I have. Everyone says social media has democratized journalism, so I'll put them on my social media. I started with that. People were kind. A lot of people followed. A lot of things started making the rounds. After a certain point, the government was forced to answer on certain things. I realized I enjoyed doing that. It made you feel like you're a part of a fight.
Yeah.
And nobody can ever say their work is not political. There is nothing called an apolitical activist.
That's true.
Every kind of activism is political. I was very clear about the fact that I very staunchly opposed Narendra Modi and the
Every
Bharatiya
kind
Janata
of
Party.
existence is political. Like we
It
all
is,
live in a
it is,
political
it is,
world,
it is. And there is nobody who is devoid of an ideology.
Yeah.
There is no one, there is no apolitical man by nature is a political animal. And I was very clear about my ideology. I knew my ideological framework, even in 2014.
Which is what?
No, I was very staunchly opposed right from the beginning to Prime Minister Modi and the policies that the Bharatiya Janata Party was propagating under his leadership. I was very upset when Prime Minister Modi came to power in 2014 because,
Because of?
see, a lot of people that voted in 2014 due to the PR blitz that was carried out had quite forgotten, or even the media at that time chose to ignore the record of Chief Minister Narendra Modi from 2001 till 2014. And there is nothing glorious worth writing home about that tenure. Some very incredibly shocking things happened during that period. But it seemed that society and the media
Riots have happened under other governments as well.
A riot is different from a pre-planned conspiracy and an active action being taken to mount an attack on minorities. Riots that organically happen between communities, sure. We've had those happening right from the partition of the country. But riots that are state-sponsored.
Bengal has always been a bit.
Under the left, yes, the violence became a hallmark. and it start. I mean, Bengal also we always
problematic, that.
no, we always talk about, we always, when we talk about, and you see a lot of movies and everything on
Actually,
partition.
we live really far
Partitions
away.
always no. The focus is always on what happened in Northwest India.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't seem to understand the fact that Bengal also went through a very painful partition, as possibly as painful as Punjab did. But if you look at mainstream media, if you look at Bollywood, any partition story is always
it's
based
from
in Punjab.
yeah.
Bengal is never talked about. So Bengal also went through a very, very painful time when the partition happened. There was a lot of people who were affected, millions of people who got affected during that period of time. But that is one aspect that nobody talks about. So yes, but going back to what I was saying earlier, Mr. Modi's
were
record,
obviously not
yes, Mr. Modi's record was problematic. A lot of things that, as a financial correspondent, I had made a few visits to India, to Gujarat as well, where the whole sort of Gujarat model was being talked about while he was the chief minister. But the reality on the ground was very different. The idea of you land in Gujarat and it's just going to be a little Singapore where everything. It wasn't like that. You could see, you could step out of Ahmedabad railway station and see what the condition outside was. But there was a whole hype created, and then that he would replicate this fantastic model nationally. We knew, at least I knew in 2014, that's disaster. Our country has taken 10 years to understand that, going by the recent Lok Sabha elections. Still, I mean, some days better than never. But yes, I was always opposed, and the fact that the work I was doing and presenting an opposition in a way of my own was something that gave me a lot of fulfillment.
What aligns your ideology to TMC? Why TMC?
TMC, because TMC is the first and the only political party I joined in my life.
Yeah.
There were political parties that
Were you
I
approached?
helped.
You
No.
approached by them?
No. The political parties that had helped during my innings as an activist.
Yeah.
But that was purely on the basis of today, anybody is in the opposition, you help them because you're also fighting the same battle. The only political party I ever joined in my life was the Trinamool Congress in 2021. The only political party I will ever be in for the rest of my life was the Trinamool Congress. And the main reason behind that was, if you see, starting from 2014 or even before that, 2012, MamataBanerjee has fought extremism like nobody else has.
In her state.
In her state. Because, the horseshoe theory, which talks about how after a certain point, the extreme right and the extreme left, it's very hard to distinguish between them. Yeah. MamataBanerjee has fought the extreme left, defeated them. She has fought the extreme right and defeated them.
What is her own personal ideology that draws you to her?
It's very clear. She stands for pluralism, which we all know in West Bengal. This is the state where you do not have the kind of mob lynchings and attacks on minorities and riots the way they happen in other places. She's a person who stands for women's empowerment. Today, she is the only woman chief minister in India. And West Bengal, the women have always voted for MamataBanerjee. And also because you look at streams like Kanya Shri and Lakir Bandar, they're now being implemented even by BJP states, like Maharashtra, for example. MamataBanerjee's ideology, I think it's very succinctly summed up in one speech that she gave, which has always stuck with me. And that is, she said, religion is personal, festivals are for everybody. And I think that's the sort of pluralism we need to see in this country. Politics should not be mixed with religion. Politics should be about what can be done to further people's lives, no matter what community they come from, no matter what section of society they belong to. And politics should be development oriented. We inherited a West Bengal. I'm going to tell you this. After almost half a century of left rule, we inherited a West Bengal where the economy was broken in every sense. Yeah. Since 2011, it is the work that MamataBanerjee has done which has shown the results that are coming on the ground today, where industries are now coming back into West Bengal, jobs are being created. Of course, it can't happen overnight. It has taken, out of those 11, 12 years, it took us 6 to 7 years to first start building confidence amongst people. Yeah. Amongst that,
amongst corporates?
Corporates and everybody, amongst youngsters, that yes, you can get jobs in Bengal. You don't have to leave the state. Because under the left, every second day there'd be a dharna, there'd be closure, there was violence. People wanted to study and get out of the state. Today, people are choosing to stay back in Bengal. Today, people do not want to leave Calcutta because it gives you one of the best standards of living in the country.
So these stories that we hear of the BJP karyakartas that, there's pre-poll violence and there's post-poll violence in smaller pockets, all that is just their narrative? Or do you think during the polling time it gets a bit out of hand?
See, BJP has a habit of setting narratives when they have nothing else to offer people. This time, they went with a whole narrative about Sandesh Khali.
Yeah.
What happened in Boshirat? The Trinamool Congress won with a margin of over 1.5 lakh votes in Boshirat, where Sandesh Khali is located. Yes, there was a land issue. I'll be very honest about it. There was a land issue. It was an issue which the people were a little angry about and needed to be dealt with.
Okay.
But the BJP came in, and because they wanted to set a certain narrative, because they realized that it's the women who are strong supporters of MamataBanerjee, the BJP decided to bring this fake narrative of gang rapes are happening in Sandesh Khali and sexual assault is
So
happening.
it is just a land issue completely.
It was a complete land issue. It's a complete land issue, but they turned it into something else. And we saw the national media coming in. We saw even well-meaning people falling for that narrative. Then later on, some YouTube channel did a whole sting video where you had a BJP Karyakarta, block president from Sandesh Khali himself, talking about how women were coerced, how women were paid to go and file these FIRs. Prime Minister Modi came to Sandesh Khali. He spoke to the candidate over the phone and publicized that phone conversation. But we knew right from the beginning that these narratives might help them in Delhi. These narratives might help the BJP create a hawa in the national media, which less said about the better in terms of how the national media is functioning today. But a hawa was created. But on the ground, it did not, because no amount of narratives can change the reality. And the second thing is, it can't change the reality, especially in a state where your chief minister is so connected to the ground. She's still a state fighter. She still has that connect with an average individual on the ground that I would prefer to say that no other chief minister in India has today. She's still seen by them as she's still one of the people. She's still a woman in a white sari with Hawaii chappals. She hasn't changed as the chief minister. She's still a person on the ground. So when you have that sort of an equation with people on the ground, no narratives are going to succeed.
Were you surprised by the performance of the TMC? They got 29 out of 42 seats.
We were expecting it. We were expecting it because if you saw 2019, the BJP did manage to make a mark by winning 18 seats.
And even this time, they really put their weight behind the campaign.
They put their weight, but 19, they were to a certain extent successful.
Yeah.
And which is why the whole party, and under the leadership of Mamata and also Abhishek Banerjee, who, if you see in the last few years, has emerged as a leader in his own right, as a young 35-year-old leader who's reorganized the party, who has been leading from the front, be it the panchayat elections, be it these elections. So the party got together and we realized that, okay, we need to evaluate where we are probably gone wrong or where we need to improve. Which happened in the 2021 assembly elections when Mr. Amit Shah went around proclaiming that 200 par, BJP will go and form the government. They were reduced to 70. The Trinamool Congress got a comfortable majority from the government. These Lok Sabha elections also, we were very confident because, see, if the BJP had...
Were you worried at any point?
No, we weren't, because you could see that the BJP has nothing to offer the people. Our campaign started off around October last year, when Abhishek Banerjee held a dharna with all of us MPs and MLAs from Bengal. We also went to Krishi Bhavan, where about close to 20,000 crores of Bengal's funds, central funds, which are due to the government of West Bengal, have been withheld by the union government. These are Manrega funds, Awas Yojana funds, they have not been released. Manrega workers hadn't gotten their salaries despite them having worked. Letters were written by them. We submitted them to the Krishi Mantralaya. The minister did not even have the courtesy to meet us. Those funds are still withheld. In the budget in this year, Mamata Banerjee then took the radical decision of saying that I'm not going to let Narendra Modi and the center deprive people of their rights. So we paid their wages from the state government's budget, which wasn't easy for us because a state to absorb, when we are talking about 20,000 crore plus of central funds that have been withheld from you since 2021. Why? Because people did not vote for BJP in 2021. So it wasn't easy for the state to take on that burden. But we took it on. We said because people should not remain unpaid. These are very poor people. Manrega is not, rich people doing internships. These are very poor people who are doing it as basic minimum guaranteed employment. If they're not going to get paid for that, how are they going to eat? How are they going to feed their families? So we released those funds. Till date, the BJP hasn't, the Modi government still hasn't released those funds to West Bengal. So we knew going into the elections that
that'll be an issue.
Forget this party does not have anything to offer the people of Bengal. Because in the last election, Bengal had given the BJP 18 seats. Not a single one of these 18 MPs went to the center and raised the issue of these pending funds to people. They were elected by the people of West Bengal. They were representing 18 constituencies. Why didn't any of these MPs, couple of them were even ministers, why did a single of these MPs feel that, chalo, our fight is with the Trinamool Congress, but at least in my constituency, I'm going to ensure that the Manrega workers get their wages? They didn't do that.
They didn't do that.
In fact, they implored the central government to keep stopping the wages, to keep stopping the funds. The people have elected you. Your fight is with the Trinamool Congress. You send the ED, you send the CBI, you do everything. We'll fight it out. Mamata can fight 10 Narendra Modi. We'll fight it out. But these are people who have elected you. They reposed faith in you in 2019, and you're not even willing to give them their dues. On what basis are people going to trust them?
And again, you didn't go in with, you were part of the India bloc, but there you fought separately from the Congress. How was that like?
See, the India Alliance, the first meeting happened in July, roughly around the same time last year. And right from the beginning, what MamataBanerjee said, what Abhishek Banerjee said is, any alliance, the genesis, the basis of India Alliance, if you had to sum up in one line, is
Beating
the strongest candidate on every seat, regardless of party, who can defeat the BJP.
Yeah.
So what was important at that time is you get the seat sharing done. That is something we were insisting right from July. The Congress party at that point felt that after the assembly elections in October in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, they might be in a better bargaining power to negotiate seats with the other allies. So it was postponed. Again in November, December, we again requested them to get seat sharing done. It wasn't done. Fine. We're willing to wait on that. And on which we waited till January, till mid of January we waited. But on the other side, in Delhi we are sitting and having all these meetings about alliance, and we're doing joint photo ops, and we're discussing seat sharing. But in Bengal, the Adhir Ranjan Congress, because the Congress in Bengal is very different from the Indian National Congress. Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is carrying out his own agenda. Every day he's attacking MamataBanerjee. Every day he's attacking the TMC. So the question is, how can we in Delhi sit down, do a nice photo op, have conversations, when in Bengal the Chief Minister and the Trinamool are being attacked by not just the Bengal president of the Congress, but also the leader of the single largest party in the Lok Sabha. And we had a very simple proposal for the Congress, which was, you have 2 Lok Sabha seats that you won in 2019. In 2021, in the assembly elections, all the assemblies under those 2 Lok Sabha seats, you lost all of them. Regardless, we will give you those 2.
Seats,
Out of the 40, we'll give you those 2. We'll fight on 40 because we're the strongest party on 40 seats. And that is a perfect seat sharing formula. Because of Adhir Ranjan Congress and because of his agenda, whatever it was, the Congress never agreed upon it. But look at the results. The Congress has come down to 1 seat from 2. Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary himself lost his seat. He was defeated by Yusuf Pathan, a World Cup winning cricketer who has never been in politics before, contesting his first election. So it just proves what we were saying.
In his favor?
I think the fact that he was there offering an alternative, offering a vision, the fact that he was reaching out, that he was present in his constituency, that he did not take the constituency for granted and the people for granted. Because the incumbent MP had probably, he's been there for 25 years. He probably felt that he's going to win the seat regardless, overconfidence. But Yusuf Pathan went. He worked very hard on the ground. And yes, the vote was for Yusuf Pathan, but the vote was also for MamataBanerjee. The symbol matters, the party matters, and there wasn't everything that MamataBanerjee announced in the portfolio, in the manifesto, everything that we announced. The people there also knew, the people in Behrampur also knew that yes, we are also going to be benefiting from these policies. So it was it was teamwork. Like I always say, everything in the Trinamool Congress is teamwork. We do not have solo riders, we do not have silos, and that is one reason why I joined the Trinamool Congress, is because today I've seen that among all the major parties in India, this is one party where there is clear communication between the leadership and everybody. The leadership is accessible. If there is something which requires the intervention of Abhishek Banerjee or even the Honorable Chief Minister, we can reach them at 2 o'clock in the night. Directions are given, conversations are had, things are executed faster. Things don't remain ideas to be stored away in a closet somewhere. People don't speak out of turn. Everybody is aligned with the ideology of the party. Nobody comes out and makes statements that go contrary to the party ideology. There is discipline in the party. And I feel that cohesiveness and the spirit of teamwork. Today, I am one member of parliament.
Is there a strong second rank as well? after Mamata
I
Banerjee?
think not just a strong second rung, it is strong right up to the booth worker, which is why if you see in these elections, West Bengal, despite the election happening in 7 phases in the middle of a heat wave, every phase of the election we recorded 77% plus turnout
That's pretty
in the
amazing,
elections, which turnout fell in a lot of major states of India, but Bengal consistently was about 77%. Why? Because even our booth level workers are that aligned and that strongly associated with the party that they know their work and they make sure that they deliver on their work. So this is
And
the sort of
nationally-
discipline now seen anywhere.
Nationally, do you think it'll have more footprint going forward?
We're the second largest opposition party in parliament today. If you combine Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha, the Trinamool Congress after the Congress is the second largest opposition party. And we are that now. We've also been that after the 2019 elections as well. So we've been the second largest party for the last 5 years. And if you see parliament, Trinamool Congress makes its presence felt. If you look at the recent parliament session as well, be it the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha,
How is it being back in the this is your first time in the Rajya Sabha? Do you think the nature of conversation has changed now that the BJP didn't get the numbers that it was expecting?
no, of course it has. You see, compared to last year, my first session was in July last year, and it's exactly a year now where we had the president's address, and now we'll have the budget session starting from the 22nd. You see, something has changed majorly.
Something has changed.
Majorly. If you look at the Lok Sabha this time, it was the opposition India alliance that dominated the Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister was a person who was used to coming into the house. Everybody on the treasury benches getting up as if God has suddenly appeared in front of them, clapping, going, Modi, Modi. He comes, delivers a speech. There is no counter to it. There is no fact checking. He's going to come and make comments which are ranging from absolutely asinine to sometimes complete lies. There is no counter. This time, when Prime Minister Modi spoke in the Lok Sabha, you would have heard voices of the opposition also on the mic
There was a
as
walkout
clearly as
also?
you're speaking. No, Lok Sabha, everyone stayed. Everyone stayed while he was
Rajya Sabha, there
speaking.
was a walkout.
Rajya Sabha he walked out for the simple reason that after the humiliating experience in the Lok Sabha the night before, the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha himself has said when the leader of opposition speaks, just one day before Prime Minister Modi's speech, he allowed interventions by about 2 ministers. He said the spirit of parliamentary debate, interventions should be allowed. I always encourage them. We have never seen an intervention being allowed in Prime Minister Modi's speech. Leader of opposition, Mr. Kharge, got up several times to make an intervention to something that Prime Minister Modi was speaking. He was denied permission. He wasn't even acknowledged. Forget refusing permission. After some point, the chair stopped even acknowledging his presence. If it is going to be a man ki baat even inside parliament, if that's what Prime Minister Modi wants to do, there is no point sitting there. And we are not going to be cheerleaders. And especially, yes, earlier this man had a brute majority, he could get away with whatever he wants, but that's not the condition anymore. The fact though is, even if we walked out in the Rajya Sabha, since 1 year Manipur has been burning. MPs were suspended for asking Prime Minister to at least make a statement on Manipur. After 1 year, this time, in the Rajya Sabha, Prime Minister Modi was forced to speak about Manipur. I think that is what has
Amit
changed.
Shah had spoken about Manipur before.
We had asked the Prime Minister to speak.
Okay.
I mean, I don't, today there is certain Yojana, there is this G20. I didn't see pictures of Amit Shah outside the airport. I didn't see pictures of Amit Shah on the roads. There's pictures, my vaccine certificate did not have pictures of Amit Shah.
Yeah.
So is Amit Shah to speak.
Yeah.
Why can't the Prime Minister, when a whole state where lakhs of people have been displaced, hundreds have died, women have been raped and paraded in public, is the Prime Minister really so above all of it that it's beneath his dignity to speak about that state? Amit Shah, no. We had asked for Prime Minister Modi to speak. As far as Amit Shah speaking goes, MPs, 146 were suspended in the winter session because they are Amit Shah to come and give a statement on the parliament security breach. Till today, Amit Shah has not spoken on that issue. So here you ask Prime Minister Modi to speak, Amit Shah will come give a statement. You ask Amit Shah to speak, the cat gets stuck. This is not going to go anymore in parliament.
You also you were vocal about the new criminal laws. Even on Twitter, you've spoken about. Take us through that. Like, what is your primary objection? What do you think is wrong in declaring these laws?
Look, you're revamping. You say decolonialization, all right? These are laws that have worked perfectly fine since 1860.
Yeah.
You decide to completely rewrite those laws. The new so-called new laws that you brought in, but 90% of them are copy-paste. You've just changed the section number. So what would have been say a 302 in the IPC has just been given a different number. You verbatim repeated what has happened there. The new provisions that you've added are draconian. In a period of 90 days now, police custody can be sought for a period of 90 days at any point by the police, whereas earlier it was 14 days, and then the person remanded to judicial custody. You still fine, you brought these laws. These laws, as Mr. P. Chidambaram said yesterday, were not referred even to the Law Commission. These laws were not vetted by anybody. You created these laws. You did not involve the opposition in writing these laws at all. See, you, until the conclusion of this Lok Sabha election, you still had the BJP, NDA had a 43-44% vote share. Are you saying that 56% of the country should not have any voice in rewriting the criminal laws of the country, which are going to affect everybody? Then, when the bills were tabled in Parliament, you want to debate. This is serious. I mean, this is not a simple.
It's going to affect everyone.
Yeah, it's not a simple vote on account that we're going to discuss it and pass it within a day. This requires extensive debate. You did not hold a debate. You did not even give us the option of asking for the bill to be sent to a select committee. Why did you not hold a debate? Because when you brought in these laws, the day before, you suspended 146 MPs, unprecedented in the history of India. You suspended 146 MPs and then you passed these laws. So the opposition hasn't had a chance to even have their say. Forget voting on these bills. We weren't even given a chance to have our say on these bills. You passed these laws. You haven't learned from your mistakes in the past. You showed the same amount of arrogance when you passed the 3 black farm laws. You suspended the opposition. You passed them with a voice vote. What happened? 1 year later, you were humiliated to the point where you had to publicly withdraw those laws. Had you listened to the opposition with the farm laws, you don't have gone through the humiliation. And forget, I don't care about your humiliation. You're an arrogant person. But what about the farmers who died sitting for a year in the cold, in the heat? Their lives didn't have to go. Their lives could have been saved if only you had abandoned your ego and listened to the opposition. But even then, you chose to do the same thing with the criminal laws. You suspended, you bulldozed those bills, you created those laws. These are not laws that have been approved by the people of India. The BJP and the NDA do not represent the people of India entirely. And I think this Lok Sabha election has made it clear even more that not even majority of India supports them. These people couldn't even get up to 272 in the Lok Sabha. How representative are these laws? How okay are the people of India with these laws? These laws are completely undemocratic. They have been passed through an executive order virtually, with the BJP voting on them and passing these bills, turning them into law, but they're going to affect everybody in the country, which is why we have, again, MamataBanerjee has written a letter. A lot of other India parties also demanded that these laws be rolled back. You bring in a bill, you have a proper debate, you send it to a select committee. Sure, we're happy. We're happy to have new laws coming in, but these laws should be representative of the people and everyone's voice should be heard.
Let's talk about your time, in jail, which was last year.
Last year.
Last year. What happened there? Do you think that we've always heard of the government sometimes politicizing these agencies and using them for settling their scores. What happened? Take us through that incident.
Simple. I'll tell you in 2 lines. What happened was when I was an activist, obviously I functioned on my savings as long as I could. And after a certain period of time, I told people that if you like the work that I do, if you wish to support the work that I do, I turn to people for funds.
Which a lot of agencies also do.
A lot of individuals do. I mean, in the United States, freelancers, there's buy me a coffee. I mean, there are even apps designed for that. Even Twitter today lets you have a subscribe button where, you pay whatever, $5, $10 to a person. Nothing out of the ordinary. There are candidates who have crowdfunded their election campaigns as well. There is political parties that have crowdfunded. The Bharatiya Janata Party itself has, using the Namo app, raised 100 rupees. And if you give 1 lakh, you might be selected to meet the Prime Minister, everyone. Because this is not an investment, this is not coercion. You're putting out and you're telling people, if you believe in my work, support me, as simple as that.
With the disclaimer, like is completely announcing it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And obviously, look, I mean, you're a newspaper. You will realize today that if you make the price of your newspaper 100 rupees, nobody's going to buy it.
Yeah.
Indians are very price conscious when it comes to actually opening the wallets and giving something.
That's subscribing, you mean? Like
so here, exactly. Yeah. So here, if people are contributing out of their free will, surely they probably believe that maybe, I'm not saying it, but probably they believe that you're doing something that's worthwhile. That happened in 2019. In 2022 December, a certain individual's wife went and filed a police complaint that, so I was arrested 3 times in December. Once because I put a tweet on the Morbi bridge collapse. I got bail from court after 3 days in police custody. Outside the court, they arrested me again. Then I got bail the next day. Then I came to Delhi, and 12 days later, I was arrested in this case. The complaint says that I contributed 500 rupees to Saket Gokhale in 2019, and now seeing that Saket Gokhale has been arrested, etc., I feel cheated.
Okay.
A
So
case
it's a
of
fraud.
a case of cheating under section 420 for rupees 500 was filed against me. I was arrested on the 27th.
So it wasn't money laundering.
No. I was arrested on 27th or 28th December in a cheating case of 500 rupees. I was picked up from Delhi, taken to Gujarat again for the third time in 15 days. I was remanded to judicial custody after about 7 days in police custody. In police custody, they kept telling me, political hai, hum kya kar sakte hain, sir, etc. All of that, very clearly. I wasn't even questioned once in police custody. So they said, ye kya hai, humko paperwork karna hai, hum karenge. I was remanded to judicial custody. On the 4th of Jan, the Enforcement Directorate registers a money laundering case against me, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. PMLA. Treating the 420 cheating case as a scheduled offence. Based on that, they registered a money laundering case against me. What is the allegation? That I cheated somebody out of 500 rupees. What was the Money Laundering Act made for? For going after terrorists, for going after drug dealers, for going after people who are conducting actual money laundering. This is 500 rupees we are talking about. But I spent 6 months in jail, in Ahmedabad Central Jail for that. 500 rupees is what the Enforcement Directorate.
There's no bail in the PMLA.
It is very hard to get bail under
in
PMLA for two reasons. One being that
you have to prove your innocence.
no, when you're arrested, you're not even told what you're charged with.
Yeah.
The Enforcement Directorate, by the way, they questioned me in jail for 2 days. On the third day, they arrested me from jail. I was already in jail. They arrested me inside the jail.
For some other charge and then
Yes, so they arrested me in jail. They took me into custody. They sent me back to jail after questioning me for about 12 days. PMLA, you're not told what you're charged with, number one. Number two, unlike a normal police offence or a criminal offence, in PMLA, statements given to the agency are considered as evidence. Number three, which is the most draconian provision, is
you
that
have to prove your own innocence.
no, under Section 80 of the PMLA, the ED is treated as a quasi-judicial body. So every statement that you give to them is under threat of perjury. No, it's under threat of perjury. So you cannot withhold, for example, in the United States, your Miranda rights tell you have the right to remain silent.
Yeah.
In front of the ED, you don't have a right to remain silent. You don't even have a right to a lawyer. They will question you. You're supposed to answer those questions. You do not know what you're being charged with. The constitutional protection which India has of right to non-incriminate yourself is taken away from you. And then at the bail stage, you don't know what you're charged with. You don't know what your so-called offense is. You don't know what, according to them, is the money laundering you've done. But you're supposed to prove that you're prima facie innocent in order to just get bail. So mini trial happens at the bail stage, where only if the court is convinced that you're very likely to be innocent is when you're given bail.
So you were obviously refused bail at that time.
No, I got bail, but the 420 case in Gujarat, my bail application got rejected. Then the High Court said after the charge sheet comes after 90 days, you may apply for bail, etc. Finally, after a lot of adjournments and everything, we got a chance to go to the Supreme Court. I got bail from the Supreme Court immediately. And in the ED case, the PMLA case, I got bail from the trial court itself. So the trial court itself, my bail was never rejected. The trial court itself at the first stage of applying for bail obviously concluded that this person, prima facie, there is no evidence against him, he's innocent, and gave me bail. But the process is the punishment.
Okay.
That is the issue with the PMLA. It is not that, there will be a speedy disposal. If this would have happened within 15 days, I would have proven my innocence in 15 days. But you have to spend those minimum of 6 months in jail before you even get in front of a court where you can prove your innocence, which the burden of proof should be on the prosecution, But even then, the burden of proof is on you. You're able because there is no case. But it still takes you 6 months of living in jail before you manage to get your personal liberty back.
So how does you were what, 35 that time? 36?
35, yeah. I turned 36 in jail, so.
So you spent your birthday in jail?
I spent my birthday.
So how does an urban person who's traveled the world, spend time in jail? Like, what was it like those 6 months?
No, it was, as I'd mentioned earlier as well, it was the first 1 month was very bad because, even in police
Were you in
custody,
solitary? No.
for a while, and that's what I'm saying. In the first 1 month, in the police custody, they tried to keep telling me, settle kar lo, settle kar lo. I don't know what that meant, but they said, आप
Settle
settle.
with who?
जो कर रहे हैं is all they told me in police custody. आप settle करेंगे तो हम बात करेंगे उनके साथ. So हमको कुछ settle नहीं करना है. Because in my mind, I would get bail because at that time I wasn't charged with PMLA. So I'll get bail within 3 or 4 days. Then judicial custody happened. Then ED happened. And then your individuals coming suddenly to meet you. And food is non-existent in prison. So they would come, boiled potatoes with mirchi and rotis that you need to soak under water for 30 minutes for them to be edible. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Food is, starvation in jails is a very real thing. And, at least some people might get some whatever, snacks from outside, etc.
Smuggled tuck in, yeah.
No, family can sometimes send you something, but again, with court permission, etc. But jails are starvation centers. There might be 85 people in the barrack, but food is only sent for 70. The food that is written on the registers, according to the jail manual, is different from what is actually being served. There's an immense amount of corruption. For the first 1 month, people kept coming, saying, "आप settle कर लीजिए." I said, "Settle क्या होता है? मुझे बताइए. What exactly do you want me to
Admission of
settle?"
guilt.
हाँ. No, they said, "No, you join the BJP. Join the BJP. We'll give you an X amount of money." They promised a sum of some 18, 20 crores, whatever. And
Were you tempted?
not at all. Absolutely not. Look, if I had to do that, I would have done that a long time ago, no? If I had to join
Did you
the
get
BJP.
offers before also?
Not specifically, but also because I was known as a bit of a nutcase. So nobody would bother to do that because I would go out and talk about it. But here that happened, 15, 16 days, they kept insisting. I said, I am not going to do it. This is something, if it doesn't align with my ideology, I will not do it, number one. And number
Pretty
two,
amazing.
हाँ,
to
and
not
number two,
buckle
I said
under
नहीं करेंगे,
such
आपको जो कर,
specific conditions.
I said क्या करोगे आप, फांसी तो नहीं चढ़ा सकते, you'll keep me in jail. ठीक है, fine, stay in jail. There are people who've stayed in jail for years. There are people like Umar Khalid who've been in prison for almost 3 years now. So I said, jail में रखोगे और क्या करोगे, रखो jail में. Then after that, when the carrot did not work, they started the stick, put you into solitary, sleep deprivation. There would be beatings.
Proper torture.
Yeah, there would be beatings. They would handcuff you to a pole. There was this jali and they'll handcuff you to it and beat you until you passed out.
Did you meet your family?
No. I did not meet a family. I did not meet my family for a single minute in the 6 months that I was there. So that, and then after that did not seem to have an effect either. And all I told them was I was a heart patient. And I said, something happens to me. No, I'm not an MP or whatever, but I still am still a national spokesperson. I'm a citizen, I'm a national spokesperson of an opposition party. If something happens to me in prison, I know for a fact that my leader and my party are not going to take it standing down, and you have to be prepared for whatever then happens. And then they realized, because see, these are foot soldiers in prison. They carry out instruction. They don't have any decision-making power. Then they realized that their necks could get into trouble is when they started passive harassment, which was, in a barrack meant for 55 people. They put 85 people, they snuck you into that barrack. Then suddenly every 2 or 3 days in the night, 2 o'clock, the lights would be turned on. They would specifically come to your bed and start searching your belongings, saying, "Humko pata chala aapke paas, you have contraband, you have tobacco, you have something. So every 2 days they would come and do that. It's intimidation, nothing else. So they did that for a while as well.
What about the TMC that time? Did they get involved?
My party extended every kind of help possible.
Legal help and
everything. I think a family wouldn't do what my party did for me at that point. I'll forever be indebted and grateful to them for that, because my party raided. Because see, my mother and my sister, our house was raided by the ED. A 1-bedroom house in Meera Road. Couldn't find anything, not even a paper. And armed guards coming with guns and everything. The party, MamataBanerjee, moved my family to Kolkata. They were very shaken at that point. My mom was harassed and everything. So, my biggest worry was my family, because I got a younger sister and a mom. My biggest worry was them. But they took very good care of them. It took a lot of time for my family to sort of start feeling a little comfortable and less panicky, less paranoid. They took care of them. They took care of the legal fight for me. And everything, things you couldn't even expect from your own family. My party, which I consider my family, has done for me.
That's pretty. And then how did it end, finally?
I got bail. I got bail in 6th of May is when I was released. I got bail in the cheating case from the Honorable Supreme Court.
How did it change you, this experience?
Uh, it teaches you a patience. Be more important was, look, for me, I was there. There's nothing I could do from inside. Everyone who had to fight the legal battle was fighting it outside. But
Did you ever have access to a phone to see what's going on?
not really, no.
Newspapers?
No. Newspapers also no. I mean, I have to go because they wouldn't allow me anything. But
So
sometimes
for a person
someone
who's
might.
been involved in journalism and has been on Twitter, that must have also been
Nothing.
a
I
big part of your
requested.
life that
I
was taken
requested
away.
for some books, and I was told that you will only be allowed the Bhagavad Gita, nothing else, which against jail manual as well, but they wouldn't allow books. But what happened in that period was you get to see a side of our society that is brushed under the carpet constantly, under trials in Indian prisons. And the first speech I made after getting elected was also about that, is I wasn't the story there. There are people today. There's a guy in my barrack, 35 rupees, he stole a bag of milk. He's been in jail for 2 years. We had another 1,000 rupees to pay for his bail. There were 16, 15-year-old kids who slept on footpaths, probably picked someone's pocket. They are shown as 18 and put into an adult jail. There is rampant abuse. There is people who are stuck there. They've already been beaten by society. They live in extreme poverty. These people are again being destroyed by the system. They're being punished for their poverty by being in jail because they don't have money for bail. There are influential people who get bail within 24 hours. These people languish because they don't have money. It showed you a side of our society that is so broken today, where we are incarcerating our own people. They are majoritarily always poor, Dalit, Muslim. They come from marginalized communities. They are in there incarcerated for a crime they possibly did not even commit. So the idea of, we hear lofty things about bail is a right, and we hear great things about personal liberty is paramount. The Constitution says a lot of things. But on the ground, none of this applies to poor people. None of this applies to the marginalized. And they're dumped into prison. The world forgets about them. And they're there. They're there living their days, trying to survive, trying to eke out a living in whatever way that they can. And it shows you something as a lawmaker or even as a person in politics. This sort of an exposure is something that people do not get. You will hear about it from lawyers of under trials. You will hear about it in books, in articles. But it's very different when that becomes a lived experience. And that teaches you a lot. That teaches you that, I at least knew there is somebody fighting for me outside. These people don't even have anyone fighting for them. A legal aid lawyer, it is prescribed, but they never end up seeing that lawyer's face. So no legal representation, not even a chance or a shot at getting out of prison. So that is something you see, and you realize that, there are a lot of issues when it's frivolous. Then on TV we see issues being created about, someone made this statement or this movie poster, etc. These are the crucial issues, but I have never seen them being talked about in our mainstream media, on television. I do not understand why no news channel has felt it worthy to conduct a debate and actually call people and ask them, are you aware of the condition of under trials in our prison? No. It is always about what Prime Minister did with the elections. The discourse has become mutton and mujra and Mangal Sutra and all of these things. It's quite sad. It's quite sad that we're doing these. And now we're bringing in these new criminal laws. In these criminal laws, I haven't seen a single provision that will make it easy for poor people who are wrongly accused to get legal aid or to get bail. So how different are we from the colonialists?
It clearly didn't scare you. You came out of it stronger.
I would be lying if I say there was, it's unnerving. The first 2-3 days, you're suddenly in this massive central jail where, orders are barked at you.
Think about like quitting politics?
Not at all. Absolutely not. No way. I got out I remember on the 6th of May is when I came out. My devices, nothing was with me. I went to Calcutta. It took 3 days for my devices to come to me. From the 8th, I started my work again. In fact, I was more driven to do the work I do because I said, if this is what the threat is going to be, that will throw you in jail, throw me in jail.
So what does it break you, makes you stronger?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, that's how jail changes you.
You have another case which happened recently.
It's a civil matter.
What is that?
It's a civil matter. It's a union minister's wife who sued me for defamation because I talked about the election affidavit of the minister, and obviously the spouse's assets are also listed under Election Commission rules. I'd spoken about that. I have enough documentary evidence, but the court in its order has said that I was issued a summons, but I chose not to appear, which is not true. I mean, why would I not appear if I'd been issued a summons? If the proceedings happened while I was in jail, obviously I couldn't participate. And so the court itself in the order has said that this is unusual because you're passing an ex parte order. An ex parte is when the other side is not heard. So yes, I'll follow the legal process for appealing that and make sure that my side also in that is heard. And then the judiciary will make a decision that it has to.
And what are your immediate future plans regarding your constituency, your part in Rajya Sabha?
Look, the mandate that the people have given in the 2024 elections, there's a lot of responsibility on us as the opposition, where people have said that no, this sort of draconian majority rule, bulldozing of bills, the ruling by diktat that has been happening for 10 years is not acceptable.
But it's also a test for the opposition because the opposition did not get the majority, so to speak.
No, of course, see, it is what people have done is they have given the opposition the same number of seats, as the BJP. Because people want the opposition to hold the government accountable the way we have. People are sick and tired of agencies being sent in. 2 sitting chief ministers have been arrested and they were in jail. One of them got bail, the other one is still in jail. The people are sick of activists or individuals being thrown into prison. Like I gave the example of Umar Khalid, who's been in prison. People saw what happened with Professor Sai Baba. People saw what happened with Father Stan Swami. Exactly a year ago is when he passed. It's the anniversary. A few days ago was the anniversary. People have seen all these things. People have seen the way that fundamental rights are being completely trod upon. To use the BJP's favorite term, a bulldozer has been run on fundamental rights of the Constitution. The mandate this time was for the protection of the Constitution. So my job, our job remains the same. It's not that we're going to rest.
Constant check on the ground.
Constant check on the opposition and also where we can contribute towards society as well. The problem with this government is it does not want to engage. I believe there are several aspects on which if the government decided to act like a normal political party, if the BJP were to act as a normal political party and engage with the opposition, there are several solutions that can be found. Always 10 brains are better than one. But the BJP still doesn't seem to have learned their lesson. It's Modi and everything revolves around Modi. There is no engagement, there is no conversation. We still have to make the effort of doing what the best we can for people. I also have a huge responsibility towards the people of West Bengal about raising, like I said, the central funds have yet not been released. There are issues where the central government is infringing upon the rights of the people of the federalism today is more important than ever. The India Alliance's victory has shown the importance of federalism, where if you see regional parties this time have completely carried the India Alliance, where we've gotten to 240 because of the performance of Samajwadi Party, Trinamool Congress, DMK, Shiv Sena, NCP. So this is the mandate that people have given. So strengthening that federalism and ensuring and protecting that federalism has to remain the top priority for all of us in the India Alliance.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for talking to us, Saket.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so
Pleasure.
much for
My
being
pleasure.
here today.
Thanks a lot.
If you liked the episode, do not forget to share it and also like, share and subscribe to all our socials. They are listed below.